What is up? This is the War Dog. Welcome to Comic Books Theater. Today we have two awesome guests. Before I announce the guests, I will say hello to John. What's going on, John?
What's up, War Dog? I'll answer to either or, man. You're good. You know, I'll answer to John or JR.
All right. So today we have Greg Cravens and Gabriel DeRanzo. They are the co-creators of the book Stone Ninja. Greg is the artist. Gabriel is the author. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Thanks much.
All right, John. So why don't you tell everybody what we're going to be talking about, bro?
And we're gonna dive right in here, guys. Let's start talking about Stone Ninja and the concept behind Stone Ninja. Gabriel, I'm going to start with you, man.
Cool.
The germ or the very first ideas that you had for the character and for the storyline, how'd that come about, man?
Well, it's actually 15 years in the making. The first idea came into my head. I was playing the Ninja Gaiden video game that came out for Xbox. I literally picked it up the day it came out. I love video games, man. And finally, a remake of Ninja Gaiden. I was like, let's do this. And as I'm struggling to figure out how to, like, run on the walls, like, I had seen Drunken Master the week before, and I said to myself, you know what? If there could be a drunken master, why can't there be a stoned ninja? And then, like, literally every, minute, pop and pop, behind the bar, I was sitting there, like, writing down stories, getting ideas together. And it's something, like I said, I've been telling the stories, on smoke breaks and in between beers, like writing stuff down for 15 years now. And then as it happens, I ran into Greg at a Creators Club meeting about 2 years ago now. And he liked what I had put down and helped me refine it into the exciting ninja action political satire that it is today.
Right on. Well, Greg, so I'm going to pitch it to you.
Yeah.
Gabriel shows up with this idea. He talks to you. What went through your head whenever he first, I don't want to say he pitched it to you because it sounds like you guys knew each other and stuff.
Well, we actually didn't. Yeah. What had happened was I'd run by the comic shop and said, "Hey, I've got a cartooning class coming up. Can you guys put up a poster?" And they said, "Yeah, we've got a meeting for creatives coming up. We want to do an anthology comic. Can you come to that?" So, big trade-off. Okay, yeah, I'll come to the meeting. You put up the poster. And I showed up at the meeting, and there was one guy who had a really solid idea, but he was doing his own artwork. And there was a couple of people that were going, "Yeah, I've got a really great idea for a story. I was thinking maybe it was going to be something like kind of a thing that I was thinking." And I'm like, this ain't working. And I looked around, and there sits this guy, and he's got pages in his hand. I go, "Is that a script?" And he went, "Yeah." "Is it a 5-pager?" "Yeah." "Already?" "Yeah." "Give it here. I think I'm your artist." Because he was the only guy sitting there with pages ready to go. Everybody else was just thinking about what they might maybe someday kind of think about possibly doing someday, maybe. It's like, there's a deadline on this thing, right? And like you probably thought when you first heard Stone Ninja, I thought it was a gag. I thought it was a Cheech and Chong, Fat Freddy scat. I thought it was going to be the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers with ninjas.
Right.
So I'm sitting there doodling during the meeting exactly that, and passed it over to Gabe, and he's like, "Not exactly what I'm thinking." So I got to looking at things, and it actually is. It's a straight up social commentary superhero, hidden identity, the whole thing.
Right on.
And it takes itself very seriously, and it works, which worked out really nice.
That's awesome, man. And I like the idea behind you. Okay, anybody who says they don't want social commentary and some politics in their comic books, they're just not living in the real world. It's that kind of thing is going to seep into comic books because it's part of our lives.
Yeah.
But you can do it in such a way that's not overbearing.
Exactly.
That's a fine line to walk, though. And I mean, like I say, that it goes back for me personally to like even the indie books like Reagan's Raiders and stuff like that, or Jimmy Carter showing up on the cover of Superman versus Muhammad Ali. You know, it's part of life. You kind of have to accept some of that. So, Gabriel, I'm going to ask you that's kind of a fine line to walk.
Yeah.
Tell me how you go about walking that line.
What I want to do is I want to kind of not necessarily even take a side in the argument. I want to just put that out there, like let people know little things like, you know, while meat, it might be medically legal in some places, like a dispensary still can't get a bank account to put their money in the bank because it's not federally legal, and banks are federally backed by funding. So just like you'd throw in like a couple of little lines just saying something about that, it brings a reality to the comic book. It bases it in kind of our reality. It adds to like the pop culture of it, because this is the time we live in where some states you go to jail for 5 years for having a joint. Some states you can buy it with your state ID, or any state ID that says you're old enough to do it. And then other states, it's like you got to live here for 5 years, have this special card, say I can't even own a gun because I want to smoke medical cannabis, you know. And I just try and like touch on that subject a little bit here and there when it fits in the story.
Right.
But I don't drag on those kind of topics, you know, and I kind of just dabble in both sides of the political aisle. I show a little bit of everything. And, you know, Stone Ninja, when it comes down to him, he's just smoking fatties and chopping up baddies, you know, not necessarily in that order.
That's a great tagline.
So, you know, I read book one, and I could see the political in it, but it wasn't so overwhelming that it ruined the story for me, right? Because I mean, I like to I get involved with politics is where I have to be involved in politics, but I don't want to have to think about politics all the time. And so when I read your book, I thought you really touched on it really nicely. And I have an autistic kid, and we're in Georgia, and the Autism Society is fighting for medical marijuana for these kids, right? And it really gets down to the big pharma and the money. You know, everything is money, right? How come you can't grow weed and invest in weed and do medical research on weed? Because everybody can grow it, right? So big pharma's not going to make that money. And so I seen the same. I was listening to Joe Rogan, and he was talking about stem cells, and it's like, why is this not available in the United States? It's because big pharma doesn't want to lose the money, and they're funding all the campaigns. I mean, I know this is getting a little bit political here, but I like the way that you touched on it. I think you did a really great job at it.
What's funny is we actually are going to touch on a little bit of that too, where there's like the evil ninjas that showed up at the end of 2. Spoiler, it's been out since May, but buy it online. I'm not going to give anything too much away. But they have like a legal front company, and it actually, you know, it's a pharmaceutical company and stuff like that. So we have a little bit of that kind of stuff and show how they're, you know, trying to even though it became medicinally legal, they're like trying to give it a bad rap and stuff like that, so that they can make their money off the pharmaceuticals and stuff and build their evil ninja army.
They're like Bond villains.
Upcoming issues, yeah. So
right on. So yeah, that kind of ties in here. Ninjas, that's pretty straightforward. But give me an idea, Greg. Whenever you're drawing the setting for some of these for some of these interactions, some of these fights and stuff, where are we coming up with the inspiration for that? Or do we? And I'll be honest with you guys, I have not read the story yet, but it's something that intrigues me, and I know that it is something that has been very popular on the on our Facebook page, The Collector's Corner.
Yeah.
Where is it set in a real city, or is it in a fictional city?
It's a fictional city.
Okay.
And Gabe's in Memphis, I'm in Memphis, but the city doesn't necessarily look like Memphis. Although, Gabe sat down and gave me a quick sketch map of the city. And he said, here's where the bay is, and here's where downtown is, and here's where all this stuff is. But, a warehouse is a warehouse is a warehouse.
Right.
And, apartments are apartments. And so you wind up with the same kinds of buildings that wind up generically in every kind of movie and every kind of other thing. And Gabe said, here's some videos. Look at these videos. So I got some ninja videos to stare at, and we had a lot of fun with that.
Nice. Yeah, I like the way that it's kind of set up there. You guys, like you say, Gabriel's preparedness kind of drew you to the project. I try and tell my kids there's really no such thing as luck. Luck is whenever you're prepared for the right situation.
Yeah.
It doesn't really just land in your lap. And that I also tell that to folks who, whenever you guys are on social media with us, you see guys that have these great big hauls of these awesome books.
Yeah.
That's the one that Todd was talking about before we started recording.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that page.
Yeah, it's so
cool. The variation on your saying that I like is opportunity is nice, but being prepared for opportunity is really, really exceptional.
Absolutely. No, that's good. I'm gonna start using that on my kids. I've got 3 teenagers. They can stand to hear some wisdom like that. So we've talked about a little bit of that. We got some politics in it. We've got some real world, but a fictitious actual city here.
Yeah, it's like a DC thing where you just, you name a city. You don't say it's New York. You say it. No, it's a whole different kind of a city. Yeah. And you never specify. It's like The Simpsons. It's Springfield. We don't know where Springfield is.
I live in Springfield. Springfield. There's only like 50 of them.
Yeah, there's one in every state.
Right.
Originally, the story, it was set in New York because I was, still fleshing everything out. New York's the big city, right? Everybody writes their superheroes from New York. And the more and more I wanted to tell the story and realized, here it is 15 years later, I needed to update it because of the different legalities. Like, I kind of had to say, okay, it's in this area and make my own fictional kind of city. And it, just took a little thought and stuff. I came up with Reef City because, it's just it's one syllable short of Reefer City.
Right.
And
there's a great deal of madness going on there.
Lots of madness going on, man. And we could even name Reef City Madness is going to be a name of one of our issues down the line or something like that.
I can't wait to see the cover for that one because I'll tell you, I know in my mind what I expect, but I also know how artists tend to exceed any expectation. Look, I'm not an artistic guy. I'm just not. I appreciate art. I know when I see good art, and I know when I'm not a writer either, but I know whenever I read good writing. So like I say, I always kind of leave that up to folks who are much more talented than I am. So you were showing off that cover there, Gabriel.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about that cover and where it was from and where you might be able to see it in the near future.
All right. Well, this cover is actually an homage to the Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke album cover. It is our very first variant cover, and only 220 were printed overall. It is a special collector's convention edition. Basically, it was available at the San Diego Comic-Con this year. Sold several copies. Then at Dragon Con as well. I think, was that this last weekend or the weekend before or something like that? When was that?
I think it was last weekend.
Did you go at all?
No. Last time I went to Dragon Con, I went to go see the parade, and I ended up getting double booted. And so that was like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And so I have this like really like I have hard feelings against Dragon Con because I was pulling because the city. I mean, I don't think people realize how big Dragon Con really is. Like, basically, the city of Atlanta becomes Dragon Con. Like literally,
Yeah.
like people. My boss is a big cosplayer, and she went to she had a hotel in Dragon Con, and there was a basketball game, and when the basketball game ended, everybody from the basketball game came to the bar, and all the nerds from the Dragon Con came to the bar, and nerds in I guess it didn't go so well from what I heard, right? So I mean, but Dragon Con is awesome, and yeah, I think it was like last week.
I do a syndicated comic strip, and I actually did a Sunday cartoon based on what you were just talking about. I had cosplayers and sports fans and 5K runners all in the street at the same time, and it was a Sunday cartoon, just awash in color.
Gang warfare, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was great.
Nice. That's so good.
Yeah, that or a hubris.
No, that was for the buckets.
See, I think the girls do very well at Dragon Con, but the guys that are at Dragon Con, when the basketball crowd comes out, they don't do as well.
Yeah.
Well, if you're wearing a Stone Ninja shirt, you can fit in with the cool kids and the nerds.
That's right. And you don't have to wear no chainmail bikini to do it.
Right?
Trust me, nobody's asking Todd or I either one to wear a chainmail bikini. I promise that's not a thing.
Yeah, I gave that up in my teenage years.
You only gave it up after you got out of college, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I won't tell you when I played lacrosse at Canisius. I won't tell you that story. Well, actually, I'll tell you a little bit. I had to wear a diaper, but that's all I'll tell you.
That's totally different. That's not cosplay. That's a different thing.
Yeah. That's called hazing.
Yeah, you can get sent to jail for that now.
No joke, man. No joke.
While we're on the topic, we actually have an official Stoned Ninja cosplayer that's going to be joining us at Cooper Young Festival here in Memphis, Tennessee, coming up this weekend. It's September the 14th. It's all day on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's a street art fair festival that takes up an entire neighborhood. And awesome. There's probably going to be around 130,000 people or so.
Right on.
And we'll have a booth there all day, but our guy is going to be running around in an official Stone Ninja suit. Oh my God, it looks so authentic. It's so cool, man. And he's going to be running around giving out little Stone Ninja cards and stuff, throwing them. And
that's awesome.
And doing ninja tricks and stuff like that. And then he's also at the Memphis Comic Expo in October, and he's going to enter the cosplay competition too. So we'll get an official Stone Ninja out there really soon. And if you follow us on any of our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then we're launching a TikTok account this weekend with once we get that cosplayer like all suited up, we'll do a couple of photo shoots. We did some stuff earlier this week just to fit it and everything like that, and did a couple of quick pictures, and I've been posting those like pretty much one a day or so leading up to the festival and stuff. So
right on. So that's man, that's awesome to hear. You mentioned Memphis Comic Expo. I know that the guys from the Collector's Corner, for the second running year, we're going to have a booth there. So if you guys have time to drop by there, definitely drop by there, because I know Josh and Mike will be glad to see you guys. And
there last year, I don't know if he's going to be in town for that one this year.
Yeah, I don't know.
Usually we get a handful of folks. This year they've got Chris Claremont is coming back, David Finch, Peter David from his, the Hulk and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Lots of interesting folks. Robbie Rodriguez.
I know in years past they've had guys like Donnie Cates and stuff. So it's, but yeah, they have some really cool, amazing guests coming in there. And I was just thinking you guys should get a hold of our friend of the show, Kara Nicole, see if she would do a gender bend Stone Ninja for you guys. That would probably warrant some extra views here and there too.
That would be cool.
That's one of the things too, like, we try not to get all like political and stuff, and right now with like gender bending, this and that, like I'm all for anything. And Greg and I were talking, and I was like, man, like I've got a character that comes in like down the line that's going to be like really hot for the ladies to do, but it's like I'm following a certain story with it.
Right.
I kind of enjoy the character by himself before we expand into too many other, elements.
Right on. So, and that actually brings up something else to my mind here. You guys didn't go the crowdfunding route with these first. You're on it. You're in the middle of doing the third issue.
The third issue.
You guys just went straight self-publishing. Decided to.
Well, we had a little help.
Okay.
The publisher is Bad Dog Comics, and that's our friend Shannon Merritt. He owns 901 Comics, and he came to me and said, hey, I want to start making comics too. And I was like, you know what I'll do? I'll buy those comics. And he said, no, you're going to help me make them. And I was like, really? I don't know how to make comics. What are you talking about, man? He said, the Stone Ninja, you're going to turn that into a comic book. And mind you, this is a retired police officer that owns a comic book store that was also a Marine, and he's just like, now's the time on this comic book, bud. Like with all the stuff that's going on in cannabis community and legalization and everything like that. Superheroes are hot. Comics are kind of making a little bit of a comeback right now. Let's get in on it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a great idea, but I can't draw. What are you talking about? That's when he's like, no, you're going to write it. And I was like, well, I don't know how to do that either, but let's try it out, right? I taught myself how to write a comic book, wrote a script. Greg saw my first script. He said it wasn't that bad. We did make some major changes. He got to me, and that's one of the things that I love about Greg, and I hope Greg loves about me. We want to put together the best possible comic we can. That's it.
Right on.
Fine.
We're working together. Nobody's getting their feelings hurt because, the other guy says, hey, we'll try that.
Yeah. And you sit there, and there's certain things like little things that will make it more authentic. to the readers that people will pick up on. Like, if you're a martial arts expert, I want you to look at it and be like, that was good form on that flying sidekick from the Stone Ninja to that dude's face.
Right on.
Or if you're, a police officer and there's a guy shooting at Stone Ninja, you want him to go, wow, he's holding that gun the right way. Good for him.
I had that with my webcomic too. Somebody complimented me one time when I drew somebody actually holding a revolver the correct way around.
Right on. Well, and see, that actually brings up another point of, you guys are you're not just willy-nilly throwing stuff at a wall. You're doing your research. You're like you say, you're trying to do things the correct way. Todd's going to get upset at me because I'm going to bring up his close personal friend that endorsed his Kickstarter for the crew, Rob Liefeld, a guy who's like, he celebrates the fact that he never took any anatomy courses, whereas you guys are going beyond the anatomy. You're, like you say, you're figuring out, okay, this is how the revolver looks in the hand. This is how that sidekick looks. And that's next level stuff that some pros that make way more money than they should don't take the time and effort to do, frankly.
Yeah, but nobody's making a multi-million-dollar movie and then mentioning us and saying, and he can't draw feet.
Yeah.
So, it's a trade-off.
One thing about it is the title is Stoned Ninja, okay?
Right.
So you just see that and you say, oh, okay, I get it. But I want to give you something more than what you expect out of it. That authenticity in the artwork and the writing and the research that I do into it. When I write anything, if I'm like trying to fit it in, I'm like, okay, I go and I make sure the timeline fits everything. And I don't want to have to go back in like 20 or 30 issues and redact some stuff because I didn't think about writing it the right way,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say
crowdfunding too.
What's that now?
You had talked about crowdfunding too, doing Kickstarter and stuff, and how we just kind of went for it instead. And that's how we got on the whole Bad Dog comics publishing, all that stuff. And what we've done is basically got sponsors to do like sponsor pages in the comic, to do pinups and stuff like that. And then also we got some local businesses to advertise with us, a couple of local breweries, Memphis Made and the High Tone and Young Avenue Deli, a couple of restaurants, the barbecue shop.
Right.
All great places, but all, I've been in the restaurant industry for, 20 years now, and made some good connections there that are paying off. They're helping out a lot. We thought about doing the crowdfunding, but it just seems like Kickstarter takes so much, man. They take so much, and you got to charge so much for a comic book. I really feel like if I can give you a copy of Stoned Ninja for $4.20 on the internet.
Get it? $4.20.
Get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's not lost on me.
I mean,
Lost on us.
I appreciate
I'm learning all kind of stuff working on this comic.
You know what? I completely agree with you. I mean, the crowdfunding.
I love doing and supporting the Kickstarters, man, and I love how it goes. I don't know. Something about me is like old school, man. I just want to just do this shit,
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. I'm going to do a comic book show next weekend, or this weekend actually, and I just did a Kickstarter, and the biggest complaint I have about the Kickstarter is the books are so expensive. You have to cover all your expenses, and I'm going to this show and I'm thinking, like, am I going to sit there with $20 books on my table? Like, I'd rather sit there with $420 books on my table.
Yeah.
I I did a book as well, and I presented it to a bunch of different comic book companies, and mostly what I got was, this doesn't fit our catalog or stuff like that. Even though I seen like Image Comics has got like a big pug dog with a warrior on its back, and I'm thinking like, holy crap, battle pug or something. And I'm
I
like,
think that's important, right?
yeah, and I'm like, you can't consider my book, but you're doing battle pug. I mean, I guess.
Hey, Todd, you know what? We got rejected from Image too, so you're in good company, man.
Hey, did you get an email? Did you get an email back from them?
Yeah, we did.
That that feels good though. At least they got back to us, like, because I got the email back and I was like, well, at least Image got back to me,
Yeah, and, if you could have had Mike Norton call him up for you, they'd have picked it up, because that's how he got Battle Boy. He called up and he said, "I'm Mike Norton," and everybody goes, "Yeah, man."
Well, I'll tell you though, I mean, and look, let's be real here. How many hundreds or thousands of people do they have asked them, to look at their comic? So I know we're not talking, but I will say this: I was just reading and actually listening to a video on YouTube earlier today, and it brought up it wasn't an interview, but it was one of those breakout sessions at a con where Todd McFarlane was basically saying, what you guys are doing, what War Dog is doing, you guys really are the future of what comic books is morphing into. And I've heard, he's not the only one that said it. I heard it from Cullen Bunn a few weeks before that. Marvel and DC are behemoths. They're not going to be able to morph their character. Look, I love Spider-Man, love him. Yep. But the truth is, there are certain things you can't have Spider-Man do. Yeah, I mean, look back when they had to take the Comic Code Authority stamp off of a couple of issues of Amazing Spider-Man because they were dealing with drugs in them, and this was back during a time when of course there was such a stigma on it that like you say, Comic Code Authority was not going to put their stamp on it, and Marvel said, forget it. Well, they only did it for 2 issues. That's how brave Marvel was, 2 issues. And DC was the same way. 2 issues later, now mind you, that was heroin in a much different situation than what we're talking about here. But the truth is, they're not going to be brave enough to go into some of these areas. And that's where you guys, independent creators and creator-owned intellectual properties, and you guys really do believe you guys are are going to save comic books as a whole.
I think though that it goes back a lot farther than you're saying, because I can remember being a kid in the late 70s and 80s. You had what's Green Arrow's buddy, Speedy, right. They had the episode where he's doing drugs all of a sudden, and then Spider-Man's dealt with that way back in the day, and it's a big news item that Marvel Comics and DC does that stuff, and it has to be treated as a huge, super special thing. Mm-hmm. But you're right in that independent publishers can do it and gloss over it like, well, that's a character flaw in this background character. That's not the be all and end all of this comic.
Right. And that's the other thing too that I guess it does get glossed over is they use it as a character flaw, you're not using it as a vehicle to further conversation. You're not really being constructive. They were not being constructive with it. They were basically doing the war on drugs. They were kind of towing the company line that we've all heard since we were little kids,
Yeah.
And where we are at as a society now is not where we were at when we were kids,
Yeah, and that's a lot of.
Go ahead.
that we're trying to get across too with it is to kind of take away from the stigma of stoned as a thing, like, because our ninja, when he smokes his mystical strain of weed that gives him his superhuman abilities, like, he's focused. He's in like a zone where he can just, like, you know, you saw the one I held up where it was the 2-pager, and he swirls around through all those bad guys, chopping them all to bits, man. And he's just like in the zone, you know?
Right.
Like when those Canadian Olympic athletes got busted for smoking pot, they were snowboarders, and they didn't take the medals away. They let them keep them and stuff because they determined it wasn't a performance-enhancing drug. And a skateboarder that smoked a bunch of pot, dude, that shit's performance-enhancing, man. You get, like, in this zone, man, where you can just, like, and, you know, do all your tricks and stuff, man. It's kind of the way I think about it with Stone Ninja.
Right on.
And back in college days, man.
I was going to ask you, you guys, I know I was giving Todd a hard time about Rob Liefeld. You guys, I've seen. I love Liefeld. And look, I give Liefeld grief because he's got some issues. I think he's got a couple of character flaws. I'm not going to go into it because that's rehashing. If anybody who's listening or watching wants to know, we've spoken about it ad nauseum, so I don't want to really dive back into that. But what I was going to say, though, is you guys have had a little bit of notoriety here as of late. I've seen a picture of somebody that has some level of fame well above mine or Todd's, holding a picture or holding a copy of Stone Ninja. How'd that transpire?
Okay, so I watched the Fat Beyond podcast. It's Kevin Smith, you know, Mallrats and Clerks and Jay and Silent Bob reboot, which is coming up soon.
Right.
Like, I watch it and I see him, like, constantly, oh, hey, you know, somebody left this comic book on the bar. What's this, man? You made this? That's cool, man. Give it up, man. This guy's awesome. He did something, you know? And so I had, like, this inkling that if I went there with a copy of Stone Ninja for him and for his co-host, and set him on the bar nice and neat, and I put a little note on it that said, "To Blunt Man from Stoned Ninja." And so, you know, while that guy was fumbling around on the microphone, and I love it, this kid is literally sitting front row the whole entire time, 5 feet away from Kevin Smith, watching the whole show, fine. Stands up in the spotlight and gets handed a microphone, asks the question, and, like, he's like, oh, man, I don't know what I'm doing. And Kevin, like, kind of, like, was like, oh, that's cool. Who did this right here? And who did this? And who's the Stone Ninja? And I got to, like, they handed me a microphone. I'm hiding in the corner, like, in this shadow, to where you never see me on camera. And Greg pointed out that I mentioned him, and I mentioned our web store, stone.ninja, but I totally forgot to even mention my own name. But, man, you know, I got the reaction I thought that he would give, and that, you know, he thought it was a good idea. But, like, he went beyond. He literally said, he's like, that's genius, man. Why didn't I think of that 20 years ago? And I'm like, dude, that's Kevin Smith telling me that. But the thing is I had the idea 15 years ago, and it doesn't really work until now, man. It's just the right time for it.
Right on.
Comic books are so huge. Cannabis culture is so huge that, man, if we can smash them together just right, dude, that's a.
Well, I'll put it like this: if Kevin Smith had said that about me or something I was doing, that would go on my business card. that would be the tagline on my business card: is Matt, or as Kevin Smith said, "I'm a genius." This guy.
Yep.
So Yeah, man, that would be just all right, man. That's
We ordered new cards just the other day. Why weren't you around to say that?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You know, next time.
Hey,
That's
could put that like in issue 3, the comic book that Kevin Smith says is genius and he should have thought of 20 years ago. Blah blah blah. We'll have like the little quote in there.
that'd be
He
awesome, man.
Use it. It's recorded. Thank you, Kevin Smith.
Yeah, we'll definitely have. I'm sure he'll leave a comment on the video. Uh, he's a weekly listener, I'm sure. Anyway, if he is, please leave a comment. That would be awesome. Anyway, so you were talking about Jamie at 901 Comics, and producing comics. That's got to be an undertaking. Whenever he came to you with that, or wherever you guys had that discussion. Go ahead.
It was Shannon Merritt, the other owner that owns it with Jamie.
I'm sorry, Shannon.
Part of the Crazy Cat Collectibles that we gathered together with to do that variant cover for the convention so that they could sell them out there at San Diego Comic-Con.
Right on.
But yeah, Shannon is the one that actually got into publishing the comic book, and he's the owner of Bad Dog Comics.
My bad. You know how it is. You get a lot of different names swirling around in this chrome dome up here, and
they're really closely connected. Right. So yeah, right. Got it right.
So,
and it's very chrome, that dome.
It is very chrome. I need a haircut, man. Don't get on me. I need a haircut.
I gave myself a haircut the other day with my ninja sword.
Nice. There's so many stories I want to share that has to do with something like that, but alas, I'm not allowed. That'll be hopefully for a future podcast.
When anybody mentions mine, I was like, I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. I don't miss my hair. Shut up.
Yeah.
At least,
At
least you guys rock it good. I mean, I shaved it down really low and it didn't look good. My wife was like, "What are you thinking?" I'm like, "All right, I gotta grow this shit out."
It's hair. You can take a chance every so often.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so real quick, let's dive into one other thing here, and this is just what's that?
Just the one thing?
Well, one more thing. You guys, and this is slightly off topic here. We had talked a little bit about the Joker trailer. Has anybody seen the Joker trailer that has just recently been released?
I saw one a few days ago. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
The one from like today. The one that everybody went, okay, all the stuff we've seen up until now look like crap, but this looks good.
Right.
You're talking about, right?
Right. That's right.
It does look good. It looks like the Joker.
Yeah. My theory, and Todd will back me up on this one because we have this conversation every so often. I look at all TV and movies as Elseworld stories, so I don't really care how non-canon they are. As long as it has some thread in there that ties it back to the universe, I'm kind of going to be okay with it. I think that allows me to enjoy, like I know a lot of people. One of the reasons why Gotham, the TV show, didn't do very well is people were like, it's too far off of canon from what actual Batman is. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course. They really said it was not going to be the Batman as you know him. It's going to be something totally different, just having roots in the story. What are you guys' opinions on it? I mean, as far as how do you look at movies like that? Because like you say, we all know this is not going to be the why so serious kind of Joker that we got from Heath Ledger or somebody like that.
Yeah. I think they should just go for it, man. I like everything I've seen so far about it. I think that they're doing like a good Joker movie. If you make it just a good movie about the character of the Joker, good for you. I don't care about connected universes. Marvel does that great. You know what I'm saying? DC, that's not been their strong suit. So I think that going with something like this is pretty smart. I think that really, even they haven't done the best movies, but people have overly criticized all that stuff. There was fun to be had watching all of those movies. Batman versus Superman. I love that movie. You could have probably taken about 30 minutes out of that movie and then give me 5 minutes explaining stuff that you didn't explain and it would have been a better movie. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a good movie. It was a fun superhero movie, and it had its moments. You know,
it did. My only real critique of that movie is two things. One is it felt like it was very just monotone in the emotion. There was no ebbs and flows. It was all just static. And then the other thing was I didn't like all of the dream sequences that I saw in it that were like trying to help them build into multiple future movies. Dude, if you've got to have, and I don't remember, at one time I remembered I counted them and it was like 6 or 7 dream sequences. I'm like, too much. If I can't tell, if I'm shocked that there are 6 of them, that's too much. You're doing it wrong at that point. But anyway, those were my main critiques of it. Other than that, I didn't mind the movie myself. But yeah, I'm with you that Marvel, right on. Marvel does a really good job of the universe building, whereas I liked Aquaman. And I liked Wonder Woman. Those were both just fine. I've not yet seen Shazam.
Shazam's fun. Shazam looks like they took a page out of Marvel's book and said, let's have people instead of heroes. You know, this doesn't have to be mean and vicious and scary and dark and brooding. And, you know, yeah, Shazam's a lot of fun. But the thing that gets me about, you're talking about non-canonical Joker. The Joker's been written by so many people for so many years, and my reading of comics involving the Joker started in the 70s. And the character from the 70s, well, I take that back. I was going to the used bookstore and trading in old comics and buying, and getting, other used comics. I've got stuff from World's Finest from the 60s that I've got an intern, sort of a guy that comes around, and I'm trying to show him how to make a living as a cartoonist. And I showed him this World's Finest from the 60s. And it's imaginary story, which they used to do all the time, which just means some writer got a hold of an idea and he slapped it together and it got drawn and they put it out. But it wasn't, it would have like Bruce Wayne running around with Batman Jr. and Clark Kent had Superman Jr. and they went on picnics with Lois and whoever Batman was supposed to be dating that month.
Right.
And non-canonical used to be standard. It was all just crazy entertainment that was supposed to keep you busy. And I'm showing this to LJ, the guy that comes around, and I said, all right, look, this is why the 60s Adam West Batman looked the way it looked. Because it looked like the comic books then. He goes, well, I don't get it. And he's looking at this story that's got Batman Jr. and he goes, is this Damian Wayne? I said, no, that's 50 years before anybody ever conceived of Damian Wayne. That's just Batman Jr. And he goes, there's no such thing as Batman Jr. Well, there's no such thing as the Joker without Batman, but you can still do a movie and Joaquin Phoenix can run around and act crazy and it'll still work.
Absolutely can still work. I have been a fan of Elseworld and What If books.
Yeah, I used to love What If.
Since the day I found out they existed, because it, like you say, it twists that canon just enough to make it interesting. One of the books that I recommend, and I will admit I'm more of a DC. I'm sorry, I'm more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy. But one of the first books that if somebody's like, I don't think I'd really be into superheroes, but I kind of want to like delve in a little bit. I'm like, read Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
The art is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's well written, and in 4 issues, you go on one of the craziest rides ever. And you really just basically have to know. You have to know Superman. You have to know Batman, Wonder Woman, and Lex Luthor. And after that, you'll a little bit here and there. If you know those 4, man, you're golden in that. And really, if you're diving into comics at all, probably know those 4 people in DC books.
Or if you watch Saturday morning cartoons in the early 80s, or I guess late 70s.
Yeah, either or.
They're the Super Friends.
There you go, man.
I was catching all the reruns on that. Loved them though.
Reruns.
Oh man,
Oh,
you're trying to act like you're all young and stuff.
No, the 80s, it was perfectly. Like, there was just enough stuff where they started actually showing reruns, but we were getting new stuff too. So, like, and we were getting stuff in from Japan. That's where all my influences came from, man. Like, Voltron and Robotech and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And, I mean, I literally wanted to be a ninja when I grew up, you know? Like, I thought for sure I was going to, like, leave the woods and just be a vigilante ninja for a living.
In the woods?
Point. Yeah, in the woods. I was going to live in build my own little...
Yeah, what's going on in the woods that they need a ninja to help out with?
Turtles.
There's out of the woods to do my ninja activities. That's where I would live.
Yeah.
The woods is peaceful because I would be protecting the woods, obviously. I was high in the trees, man. Oh, man.
All right, guys. So we're coming up on the hour. So let's do some final thoughts here. And so, Gabriel, let's start with you. What are your final thoughts on what we've talked about? I mean, plug your book or whatever you want to do, bro.
Yep. Okay. I want to say I really enjoyed The Crew. I'm looking for the next issue. I want to hear some thoughts on that from you in just a minute.
All right.
Come get a copy at the upcoming conventions of Stoned Ninja at the Cooper Young Fest, Memphis, Tennessee, the Cooper Young neighborhood on September 14th from 9 a.m. in the morning until 7 p.m. And then we'll be at Memphis Comic Expo October the 19th and 20th. All day, both of those days, Saturday and Sunday, with Chris Claremont. We'll be at a table near his. So when you're waiting in line for his, just kind of pop by and say, hey, pick up some rolling papers for later, you know, a copy of the comic book to go with.
Get a caricature, for heaven's sake.
A sweet T-shirt, a Gosmosis print.
There you go.
Fancy.
Greg, what are your final thoughts for this evening?
My final thought is the assumptions you don't realize that you're making do you the most harm. So if you've made an assumption about Stone Ninja, jump on it, stone.ninja or stoneninjacomics.com, either one, and find out that your assumptions weren't helping you at all.
That's awesome, man.
How
That's
philosophical
awesome.
Is that?
Dude,
That's philosophical.
That's good, man.
The master.
That's cartooning Zen.
I'm telling you, I'll subscribe to Cartooning Zen any day. That's good stuff.
I need to go start that page then.
Do it now. If you don't, I'm going to.
All right.
I'm going to give a final thought here. Just a couple of things. One, guys, definitely got to check out Stone Ninja. I'm going as soon as we're done. Going to check in because like I say, I admit I had not read it. I had some preconceived notions, and I'm glad that we had this discussion, because frankly, it puts my mind at ease that you guys are fighting against the stigma that's still kind of there.
Yeah.
I don't want to feed into that. I want to read good comics, see good art. That's what I want to. That's what we want to support here. And then the other thing too. This is something that's completely something we haven't talked about on the podcast at all yet. Guys, go to the Collector's Corner. Check out. We have just been sponsored by CLZ. CLZ just dropped their 5.0 update. Look into that. Just so you guys are aware, there is a discount. There's a corner discount for the 5.0 upgrade. There are links all over the place. Alwyn's been very good to us as a group from day one that we've had a relationship with him. He's giving a 33% discount. So, and that's basically falling right in line with the 30% discount that he gave us before. And so, man, it makes sense to head over there, join in on the fun in the Collector's Corner, get your discount on CLZ, which is one of the 2 apps that I think, if you're into hunting comic books at all or collecting comic books, you have to have that one for sure. We'll talk about the other one at a future point. But if you have listened to podcasts in the past, you know exactly which other one I'm talking about too. Todd might even be able to tell you which one that is, I'm sure. That's all I got to.
Stone Ninja is available digitally through our web store at stones.ninja. So if you just want to check it out the cheapest possible way, cover price $4.20. You can get a digital copy, and then you can read it as many times you want.
Awesome. Cool.
All right.
Todd, wrap us up, big guy.
All right, so I'll give my final thoughts here. So I read Stone Ninja. I read Stone Ninja #1, and I was impressed. I enjoyed it. First, Greg's artwork is fantastic. He's got this 2-page spread that is this a fight scene. Gabriel showed it. It's awesome. The
third issue is going to be so much better, though. I'm working on it now, and I'm putting twice as much work into it.
Hey, this is my time.
All right, sorry.
I'm just kidding. Good. I look forward to the 3rd issue. And there's, I mean, you guys don't like pussyfoot on this one either. Like, guys are getting their hands chopped off and stuff fighting Stone Ninja. And so, like, I was thoroughly impressed with book 1. I really enjoyed it. I said, whether you're into the Stone culture, whether you're not, it's a ninja story as well. And Greg's artwork is doing the ninja story a great deal of justice. And Gabriel's story is very well written. I enjoyed it. I bought the 2nd copy. I haven't read it yet, but now I want to go read it. I've just been lazy and busy. And another thing is I did a comic book. Gabriel backed me on my comic book. And one of the coolest things about this community that we have is that a guy like me and Gabriel, I've never met him in person, but we support each other, and we've become brothers, you know. And it's like, I want to see you succeed, and I feel the same from you. And you know, I've got hopefully a book #2 coming out, and hopefully maybe I can get Greg to do a cover for that one. That would be really cool.
I love it.
In a Stone Ninja connected type, something connecting to the whole Stone Ninja thing. The crew #2 is hopefully we did a Kickstarter. So the hardest thing with doing a Kickstarter is trying to figure out the perfect month to launch the next one, because you don't want to do it like Christmas. So we're working on it. We're about halfway through it. It's a great story. We've got a lot more story to tell. And you know, being an independent artist, I'm not the artist. I'm actually terrible at artwork. I might have to come over to Greg's house and get a few lessons myself. But but being an independent, like all of us three here, is great. It's fun. It's great to support other people, because we're doing it because we love it.
Yeah.
And what's better than that? So I mean, that's my final thoughts. So that's all I got.
Hey, I appreciate the support, man, and I'm going to support you too.
Thanks, brother.
I loved the first issue of The Crew. It was a lot of fun. I know Greg would be down to do a pin-up or a cover or whatever you want to work out, man. We'll work something out. That'd be hella cool, man.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome to me.
Right on, guys. Well, be good or be good at it, guys.
All right, take it easy, guys.
You too.
Out.
Peace out.